All right, all right. What's up, everybody? This is George C.L.C. Samuels, and you are tuning in to episode 59 of the It Will Come Show. And so today, we're going to be talking about social distancing, herd immunity, and pack mentalities, right? So obviously, each day it seems like there's more and more happening. Things are constantly changing rapidly. And, once upon a time, it was easy enough for me to be able to think far ahead enough, even as far as like 10, 20 years. But these days, things are very uncertain. But I think it's going to be still very important for you to try and stay as focused as possible while being flexible on the day-to-day. Because, the whole world is changing. But with that, let's get started. So, okay. First article that I got up today here is actually from my sister. My sister sent this to me not too long ago. And, of course, sorry. Forgot to also say, the show today is sponsored by Fire. And I'll probably need to put in a filler here sometime soon. But if you've been tuning in over the last couple of days, we are, live streaming straight from my home because everybody is currently in lockdown. But with this particular article, Bondi Beach to close after beachgoers fail to adhere to social distancing orders. If you have not heard the term social distancing yet, where are you in the world? Because I would also like to know how you haven't heard this term yet. Social distancing refers to just essentially staying 1 to 2 meters away from people around you, or staying away from everybody as much as possible. I've had some chats with people about this on the interwebs around, is actually social distancing the right term to use for what we're actually referring to? Because really, we're actually talking more about physical distancing. People actually are socializing quite a lot online. It's really the only thing that can keep people sane. So for now, when we're talking about social distancing, we're actually talking about physical distancing. So yeah, Bondi Beach right here. So what happened here is some people will think this is really stupid. Some people think that it's not. But essentially, after Australia went into lockdown mode and people were told to go home, to stay indoors, etc. Well, a lot of people in Sydney just didn't listen. They thought it was a good opportunity to go to the beach, and so everybody swarmed to the beach. And what ended up happening is there was a crazy spike in COVID-19 cases. Who would have thought, right? So I think part of the issue here is that people, Australia is obviously, part of the slew of countries that have, only recently started to get cases. Whereas if you've been in Asia, we got this back at the end of January. So I think this doesn't become real for people until you actually have. I mean, look at that. That's just craziness. I understand why some people would do this, but I think then as people start knowing people in their immediate circles to actually contract COVID-19, that's when things start to get a little bit more serious. And this is happening more and more. The number of cases are continuing to increase, and it is what it is. So, the lesson here, guys, is essentially stop it. It's not just about yourself, or you having to giving up any of your freedoms. This is actually about the collective at this point in time. Everybody in the world is going through this together. So, this is about thinking about others too. Because you going out and enjoying yourself, well, if you're a carrier, you could actually end up passing it on to potentially older people or those with compromised immune systems, and then it affects them. So this is one of those times where if you're talking about your individual freedoms, I get it, but also get off your high horse. That's my take on that, because this is affecting everybody, and we kind of do need to be socially responsible with one another. Okay, this is not a forever thing as well. If you can't survive indoors for a bit, then maybe we have had it really good, because we're not being asked to go to war or anything. We're just being asked to stay indoors for a bit. Now, conspiracy theorists, I'm sure if you're watching this, you might be like, oh yeah, but you don't know, military is going out and keeping everybody in lockdown and whatnot. There's something bigger going on. Possibly, okay. But we can't really confirm that. And to be honest, I don't see this as a bad thing. We're giving the planet some rest, right? So look at it that way. The next bit here is this is to do with the herd immunity, right? So in Europe, they're talking about playing with the strategy of herd immunity. And if you're not familiar with what herd immunity is, herd immunity occurs when enough of a population is immune to a pathogen that it prevents its further spread. So what that entails is like this is being utilized before, right? I think if those of you have had chickenpox or something of the sort in the past, you'll remember that there was a point in time where parents were actually encouraging one another to actually go find kids who do have chickenpox to get it so that they get it and it's out of their system, right? And some people are saying that maybe this might be a strategy, right? To just go out and try to get everybody to get it. Now, it's a wild strategy, right? Considering just the bits that we know about COVID-19 at this point in time. And remembering that coronavirus is we've had coronaviruses before. It's just this strain here is what is new, right? And we've learned that it keeps adapting. So even if they find a vaccine, we don't know like if that'll be enough because it needs to get approved. Takes 6 months to 12 months. There's so many things entailed. All right. So yeah, herd immunity. If you haven't heard the concept before. This is what it is about, and it'd be interesting to see if this does work. I think they're going to try testing it out in the Netherlands. So you can see here, but of course some people are skeptical, and I don't think we will be able to know whether it's effective or not until somebody tries it out. The high risk of that is that you just end up killing a lot more people. But at this point in time, we have a strategy right now. People are saying to flatten the curve. I was speaking to one of our advisory board members last night, and he was saying like it is good that we're looking to flatten the curve because actually that helps us with more on the logistical side, right? Like it helps from overwhelming hospitals. It helps human beings to actually be able to cater to probably the large swarms of people coming in for checkups and healthcare in general. But yeah, flatten the curve. The downside of that too is that we also draw out how long this takes, right? And that's not necessarily something we want either. But at this point in time, either way, like there's just going to be huge consequences, whether it's economic or health, right? So these two articles, both of them, right? This one here is a call for the implementation of that strategy. This one here is really talking about, maybe it might not work. Next up, we got here, the beach stocks. Oh, I put this up because what's fascinating is like from an economic standpoint, for those of you that are looking to buy the dip or take advantage of this opportunity right now, which is for some people might be like, how can you even look at this as a great opportunity? Well, light and dark, right? Where some people might see fear, other people might see opportunity. Where some people see opportunity, they might see fear, right? So opposites. And so for those who are keeping their eyes on sort of like when we get out of this, this is also actually a great opportunity to buy stocks at a discount. Now, if you're not familiar with this realm of like investing, you don't have to take this on, but this is actually, if you look historically and you actually start studying like economics in general, these periods in history is actually where a lot of wealth is created for the long term. Those who are able to see what's happening, and as I said, buy stocks at a major discount because you see everything plummeting. It actually might make it easier for a lot of you who have considered, investing before to actually get in at a very good time. Nobody knows when like sort of the bottom is, right? But already you're going to get a major discount in general. The trouble though with general stocks at this point in time is that they were already in this like hyper bubble. So that has popped and is popping, and things might come up, might go down. I mean that's the nature of stock markets in general. But yeah, they have this. I thought was fitting because we had the Bondi Beach thing, and well now. This particular article talks about beach stocks, right? So these are companies that are dealing with bookings, entertainment and live events, airlines, cruises and casinos, hotels and resorts. But yeah, these ones Yeah, a lot of them have just plummeted. All right. So this is not financial advice. It's just sharing with you like what has like completely dropped and what are potential opportunities. Okay. So yeah, disclaimer, this is not financial advice. Next up, hoarding. Okay, so we've talked about social distancing, we've talked about herd immunity, and now we're going to go into the pack mentality. All right, and this is what the pack mentality can also be known as mob mentality, but this ties in with hoarding. Okay, so you can see here, there's just a lot of governments pretty much saying like, stop it. We cannot essentially take the hoarding of food, because what this does is it actually puts it applies pressure onto supply chains, right? Uh, a lot of supermarkets and retail chains, they might actually have the supplies, but because of the rate at which people are going to supermarkets and clearing things out, they have to be restocked by human beings still, right? And so that is what takes time. And so it's the rate at which people are hoarding is what is putting strain on the entire system right now. So I would say, using Singapore as an example, they've done a good job, I think, because they addressed this earlier on. But they've literally, told the Singaporean citizens, like, stop hoarding. You don't need to. We've essentially got supplies for every single household. And they actually, in one of the televised addresses, they gave items, right? They would like 2 eggs, like 6 noodles, like to the T, right? Like of how many supplies I have for each household, which is crazy. I don't know if they'd be able to do that in many other countries. Singapore is much smaller, but it just goes to show that, like, I guess those who were prepared versus those who were not, we can see the damage that it's causing right now. All right. So I think this is the first time in human history where we've had this type of issue, right? Because globalization, we've been more connected than ever before, and I think now this is a stress test, right? This is showing like how this is stressing the system out. So yeah, coronavirus, the psychology of panic buying. Um, so yeah, I think with this particular article, as we know, right, toilet paper. Let's be real, toilet paper has been, I think, the thing that took most people by surprise in terms of like when you go to raid a supermarket or go to get supplies, you'd think like people would go for the basics, like, okay, all the water would be taken, or all the rice, which has been taken, noodles, those sort of things, right? But toilet paper, like, wow, toilet paper. I think people forget that like you can actually go into the shower or use a bidet if there is no toilet paper. So I don't know what it says about like us as a Western culture or a globalized culture. But yeah, the psychology of it behind here is like, it's not a surprise that people are panic buying, right? Because I think we've been programmed enough in post-apocalyptic videos around, what you're supposed to do. And so, right, and we haven't been doing that. I think a lot of Americans, which is interesting, there has been a culture of like, stocking up. So I think a lot of American households should be pretty good to go, but we still see that same sort of behavior in the US, right? So it's really interesting to see. But yes, again, we'll share these articles in the comments of the video, and yeah, you can have a read of this. It's actually pretty interesting. And with that, while we're talking about, oh, sorry, go to the article. Yes, this article. So yeah, while we're on the topic of pack mentality, if you've been tuning in over the last week, you would have heard me talk about the pack. So I thought I'd just share with you our landing page on our website. Right now, we're seeing a lot more interest in this program, and if you're wondering what it is, it's a productivity accelerator. We've been running this for the last 5 years, and really it's all about helping people to get stuff done while they're working from home or working remotely. Doesn't matter. You can be an entrepreneur, you can be a software developer working for a big company, and you will still get value out of this. So we're all about results. We want to see people go from, increase their average productivity, but most importantly, provide a support community, right? Provide a support network of people who are motivated, who've done this before, who care, who know how to balance both, the head side of things, getting results, right? But also the heart side, which is about understanding that there are things outside of work that actually impact your personal productivity. And this was inspired by wolves, right? Because wolf packs are known to be very social creatures. If you study them well, you'll see that wolves, you can put an unhealthy wolf into a healthy wolf pack, and you can see just the impact that it can have, right? To be a positive influence. So one of the things that we talk about is the importance of building healthy cultures, right? And we've been able to do this in our pack, and we actually want to start sharing that with the world and the wider global community, because we've seen the results, we've seen the impact, and we think that this could be of real use and help to people during these times. Folks have managed to find jobs, managed to grow their business, grow their own team, get clarity on their real direction. Sometimes they might have started off wanting to have a business and then realize actually they just want to grow their family, so they might just stay with their job, double down on that, and then focus on the family side. All of these things are really, really important, right? It's a holistic. So yeah, if you're interested in the pack, just go to this URL up here in the top left, firebrand.org/the pack. This is the price that we would usually have for 3 months, but we're actually offering 50% off due to the increase in demand from the global pandemic. If you're in a more precarious situation, just contact us as well. We'll have a chat and we'll make it work for you, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the money, right? Actually, it never was about the money. This thing started as an experiment, as a test to solve my own problem. So we really give a shit, to say the least. Okay, so yeah, with that, thank you for tuning in for today's session. I hope you learned something, whether it was about the social distancing versus physical distancing, whether it's about herd immunity. I'll be honest, that's something that I think I had heard in the background somewhere before, but I really didn't know or understand until recently. And also with the pack mentality, mob mentality, these are things that are very real right now. People are freaking out. But at the same time, you've got a lot of stories too of people who are not freaking out. We're able to stay calm and level-headed. If you have anybody in your community that's like that, spend some time with them, probably virtually right now. And just remember, there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. All right? And so, as always, through patience and persistence, it will come.